Hello, welcome back to Let's Talk Ray Bradbury. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please do. So here in Let's Talk Ray Bradbury, I have been reviewing the complete collection of Bradbury's stories. There's 100 stories. We are now down to number 89, so we are nearing the end of this project. For today, we're going to take a look at April 2026, The Long Years. This story was first published in Maclean's magazine on September 15th, 1948. It later became part of the Martian Chronicles collection. So it is now 20 years after man's fourth expedition to Mars. A doctor named Hathaway lives there alone with his wife and 3 children. They were left behind 20 years earlier when war broke out on Earth and all the other colonists and rockets fled back to Earth to help fight in the war and to bring peace to the planet, but they've had no news since. There on Mars, using his ingenuity and his skills, Hathaway has wired up one of the abandoned cities to make it seem active and alive, and they often sit on the porch from outside town and watch, and I sort of imagine that they're not all alone there on the planet. One day, he spots a rocket with his telescope, so he actually lights the city on fire. It's made mostly of plastic. It burns down, but it alerts the rocket to come land and to come get them. When the rocket lands, they learn that it's captained by a man named Captain Wilder, who Hathaway served under nearly 20 years earlier. He's just come from the outer solar system. He's looking for survivors on Mars. He finds another person 10,000 miles away, but as they had suspected, Hathaway and his family were basically alone all of this time. Hathaway invites Wilder and his crew to dinner, but Wilder, when he gets there, he soon realizes that something's amiss. The wife and the 3 children all appear to be about the same age they were when he left 20 years earlier. He comes to the conclusion that these are in fact androids. They spot 4 crosses in the sand not far from the house and realize that the originals had died and that Hathaway had in fact created androids to spend his time with and to avoid loneliness in his time alone. Hathaway, he dies of a heart attack. He felt like he survived just for the opportunity to meet another person again, but now his heart is given out. So when Wilder and his crew leave, he wonders what to do with the family. He takes a pistol up to the hut. He has the intent of destroying them, but then he realizes that, I can't do this. They may not be flesh and blood, but they have the right to live on as they have, apparently happily. Whether Hathaway himself is alive to be with them or not. Basically they have a right to live, although they are artificial intelligence. So, like much of the Martian Chronicles, this is another sad, sort of mournful feeling story. Man has gone to Mars and nothing has gone right, and basically everything about man that man experienced on Earth is brought with them. We've seen episodes of war and of disease, and here's another case where sort of human emotions and the human ingenuity for creation have also come to Mars. But in this case, it actually becomes a helpful thing. It really shows what lengths a human will go through in order to survive. In this case, he turns to technology as a form of comfort and a sort of a form of therapy against the dread of absolute solitude. I think that is something that most people sort of fear. They say that we are a social animal. I don't fully agree with that. I think there are certainly people who function very well in solitude, but even in those cases where maybe you're living out in the country or you go out into the back country, even in those cases I think people still feel a connection to civilization. But here this is a case where a person has used technology to survive as a way not to create the things they need, as in physical necessities, but also actually a mental necessity, because that is the purpose of his family here. They are there to end his loneliness and to keep him from complete heartbreak. Here, I think there's a very simple version of that in our lives, and I think that's the internet, because you may live alone in your house, but and you may have nobody around you who has your interest and understands you, but yet you can always seem to find somebody on the internet who does, and I think that is sort of the benefit of the internet. But more akin to the actual context of the story, the issue is AI, and that is an issue that is becoming closer and closer to reality. We've been talking about it for a century, artificial life, but we're getting closer and closer to making that a reality. And how are we going to treat artificial beings in our world? And what does it say about us if we are cruel to them? Although they seem human in every conceivable way, what does that mean? Is it exposing our savagery as a species? I tend to think that most of us, when we finally encounter sort of truly convincing, indecipherably authentic artificial life, I think we're going to be good to them. I don't necessarily believe that all man is good, but I think most of us are, and I think that we've seen how we can connect to things in art. And characters and stories become absolutely real to us. I think for that reason, it's very likely that AI, which is basically a fictional character in a literal sense, I think we will also come to be, generally speaking, authentic and kind to them. I don't think it's going to be a Westworld situation or any number of 1,000 other science fiction stories that came along before Westworld, but you get the point here. All right, guys, so those are my thoughts on April 2026, The Long Years from the Martian Chronicles. That was story number 89 of 100 in Bradbury Stories. Next up, we're going to take a look at Icarus Montgolfier Wright. Interesting title. And that will leave us with 10 stories to go before we move on to Clive Barker. Very excited to do that. So if you enjoyed this video, even if you didn't enjoy it, give me a thumbs up, please. That would be nice. But if you have something positive and constructive to add to what I've said, feel free to leave that below in the comments. Once again, I encourage you to please subscribe and enjoy your weekend. I will see you on Monday.